So the defense came out with a lot of adjustments, moving Warren around, a lot of moves in the secondary. What did you think about what they did today?
Well, I think that it was definitely time for a shakeup, and Rodriguez after the game said that, when asked about the defensive shuffle, he just said that they were reaching. They're reaching for an answer, and it definitely looked like that today, especially with some of the personnel they had in there. Overall, I think it was definitely good that they switched it up and had a good, had some changes, but obviously it didn't work. I mean, they allowed the most points that they have all season. At this rate, they have to be statistically, even or worse than last year's defense in terms of points allowed. They've been getting pretty close all season, and Tate Forcier after the game said that when asked if he felt like the defense had really given him a chance, he said, well, they had some turnovers, which was good for us, except obviously those turnovers aren't going to make up for that many points allowed. So that was definitely a big issue. I guess overall, they need to switch that up, but they still didn't find their answer, quite obviously, by the score.
Yeah, I mean, it also overshadowed a great performance from the defensive line. I mean, Brandon Graham had 3.5 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks. Van Bergen had a touchdown. I mean, defensive line really came to play. Mike Martin, had a few big plays.
Right.
But really, when you don't have that backed up by solid coverage, and plays just fall apart at the scenes like that, it's all execution, and that really, no matter what schemes you're running, execution is going to hurt any team.
And the defensive line has been pretty consistently strong, especially in these do or die situations. You can just tell Brandon Graham is just dying to hit the quarterback on every play. But the secondary is just something that honestly I don't see how it would be fixed before Ohio State. Obviously Ohio State's a different ball game. They're more intense in practice, but it looked like Rodriguez and Robinson were trying to find a solution out here on the field today, and they didn't find it. I'm not really sure how they're going to find it in a week before Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's also hard to tell if there's actually schematic issues, because a lot of what people are pointing to is really execution. So you never know. I mean, maybe with Ohio State week, they get so amped up, everyone plays their hearts out, they execute well, and they get a few stops, and this offense can definitely keep this team in a shootout game. So it's really hard to judge, I think, the schematic changes based on just this performance because of the execution, but I guess Ohio State will really be a good test, because if you can't execute against Ohio State, then, what's going on.
Right.
So.
No, fair enough. As for the offense, Tate had another pretty strong game. Heading into Ohio State, what do you think that means for the offense?
Well, the one thing I was worried about Tate, even though it looked good on the stat sheet, was he was tucking his head too soon. He was running with the ball too much, and I don't think he was really willing to weigh down the pocket. And that showed up in these sort of scramble around sacks, and that really hurts the defense. If you're pushing them out of field goal position, forcing a punt, it doesn't. If you don't release the ball, you're not giving the offense a shot. So I think that is something that needs to be corrected for Ohio State, because they have a great defense. So that'll be something really to look for.
And one more thing, there were the internet rumors kind of swirling around that Tate might not start, that maybe some academic issues, and he actually addressed that in today's post-game press conference, and it said that he missed study table, but it was sort of a miscommunication, and Coach Rodriguez didn't know that he had made up the time, so they're all settled now. Do you think that sort of thing, that those kind of distractions, do you think that may have played a factor in today, or potentially against Ohio State, or do you think this team is kind of beyond those off the field things?
I think the off the field stuff doesn't play a huge role in what happens out on the field. I think a lot of it is really just finding the way to execute on every single play. I think there's a huge difference between those two things. I don't think it really affects the team's focus much at all. And I think that's mostly stuff that's overplayed by the outside, because you're really trying to get what's going on in the team. But I don't think it really would distract Brandon Miner or Carlos Brown and the offensive line if Tate's missing a study table.
Right.